Hello, welcome to episode number 147 of the Savvy Social Podcast. This show is brought to you by Fan Booster by Traject, which is the world's most complete social media management tool, and it's my tool of choice when it comes to scheduling, managing, and especially reporting on social media. Try them out for yourself for free by clicking the link in the show notes or that goes along with this video. I'm super excited for today's guest, Gill. She is operations consultant and founder of Systems Saved Me. She helps overworked one-woman shows become streamlined solopreneurs. Her jam is creating cohesive operation systems for managing your tasks, files, and inbox. She has been on the What Works podcast, CEO Vibes, and she shares her love of replacing monthly retainers with one-day virtual intensive. So we're going to get into her whole strategy, and y'all are going to love this. Make sure you take some notes. But before I bring her on the show, if you want kind of a really good place to start with your social media strategy, check out our free course, completely revamped, shiny, sparkly, and new. You can find it at OnlineDrea.com/free. It's really the best place to start when it comes to building out your social media strategy. That's OnlineDrea.com/free, FREE. And with that, Jordan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Drea. And this is going to be a fun topic that I don't get to talk about very often. People don't ask me a ton of questions about it. So I'm excited to nerd out and talk all things social. So super excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you because, as I mentioned off air, we've been in each other's orbits for a while, but I don't think I actually know your history. So how did you get started with the systems business specifically?
Yeah, I thought everybody was, all about, within arm's reach, I at least have markers, at least 2 different kinds of Post-its. Like I'm very, I'm very organized. I like to feel like I know where everything is. And, not everyone's like that, I learned. And so when I kind of first started out in this industry, I actually worked for a woman named Melanie Duncan, and I worked on her team, full-time employee. And I learned a lot about the industry because she was in the same spheres as the James Wedmore's, Amy Porterfield's. Like she was in masterminds with these folks. And so I had a really unique entrance into this industry that wasn't necessarily for my own business, but it was under somebody else's umbrella. So for 2 years, I got to soak in like what it's like to run an 8-figure business in the online marketing industry. And so for me, it's a God thing, but for other people, it's gut universe. It was, okay, I need to leave. And there was really no reason for me to leave. I didn't talk about social media. I didn't even have a personal Instagram when I left. Like nobody knew who I was. Okay. But I was like, whatever, I've got an email address, an LLC, and a bank account. That's all I need. And I made the jump about 6 weeks notice because we were about to go into a launch. And I started my business. And in those 6 weeks, I was able to secure 4 clients and made a $12,000 monthly retainer happen. So it was whatever, $3,000-ish per client. And I started my business that way. And so I was really excited to experience, I'm going to live in a dentist office basement and eat ramen, which is tricky because I'm gluten-free and have celiac, but I'm going to do it. And it's going to be this grinding situation. And so then to have that not necessarily happen, that does not mean it's been smooth sailing since then. But it really showed me that relationships are everything. And that has been the core of my business since jump, because I recognize I cannot do things on my own. And I'm not even going to try to think that I know everything or that I'm good at everything. And so that really has been the trajectory of my business. Is systems help you to be able to build and nurture and support relationships in your life. You do not need to be the person pressing the buttons in your inbox. You do not need to be the person going back and forth to schedule a meeting. Your systems can do that for you. And I really, really preach that, systems are there to support you, not suffocate you. And so if they are suffocating you, you're doing them wrong. And so that's really how I got started in this industry was again, making a transition from an employee in the kind of bigwig industry or in bigwig circles, and then going out on my own and figuring it out from there and whatnot. So that was kind of my mini origin story.
I love it. And I think it's one of those things that it's something that came easy to you, like the Post-its, you just have them.
Yeah.
And then now you're sharing with other people, like how to systematize and streamline everything, which is just, it feels like magic when it's all working together, which I love.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay. So this month, we're talking all about mindful marketing. And I know you have a very specific stance on social media. So can you share with us your views on social media, specifically for business owners?
Yeah, totally. So my stance for social media is, and some of you may have a heart attack about this, is I don't have any social media notifications on my phone. And so talk about mindfulness, right? Like when I enter Instagram, I understand that I'm going to be having conversations with people, but when I am not in the Instagram app, then I am mindfully and consciously not present for social media. And so my whole thing is presence. I think presence, as in PRESENCE, not TAS at the end, not as in gifts, but presence is one of those things that is so rare. I think that when you are in conversations with people, or you are, in real life or online, you're always doing 17 different things at the same time. And I really like to give the gift of presence, because just like here, like my phone is face down over there, like whatever's going on with my phone, not a priority right now. I'm here talking to Drea, and I want to have a very intimate conversation and have it be the only thing that's on my mind and what I'm discussing at the moment. And I think with social media, my stance is that when I am in the social media sphere, when I open my app, when I am ready to have conversations, I'm fully in those conversations at that time. I'm not really doing the whole, Marcus, my fiance, is talking to me, but I'm on Instagram, and like, Colin is trying to get my attention, my bonus son. Like, I don't really do that. I try to really, maybe it's living in silos, or maybe it sounds like too compartmentalized, but for me, it's really important that people feel the fact that I'm here, I'm present. There's nothing else going on that's important right now. And that's the stance that I take with social media as well. And so, it can mean that people are waiting a little longer to have conversations with me and whatnot, but I would much rather them wait and have it be an actual conversation versus kind of a half-baked conversation that I'm not really present for, if that makes sense.
Oh, yes. That makes perfect sense to me. And it's actually what I love most about social media is that we can choose to be on, we can choose to be off. And I am 100% on team no notifications.
Yeah.
Now, I still check obsessively, and it's also my job, but
right. Yeah.
I can choose not to. And one of the best examples for me is the weekends. I don't typically work. So I can just not do it. Just like, I don't even get distracted. Like if I do pick up my phone to like take a video of my dog, that has nothing to do with Instagram. And so I think it is helpful to compartmentalize. However, I do find that people still get that sense of FOMO, like they feel like they're missing out on something. Does that ever happen to you? And if so, how do you combat it?
I don't know if I have it too much anymore. I guess my kind of relationship with social media has definitely shifted throughout, I guess, my 5 years in business at this point. Is when I first started out in business, in the first 7 months, I posted like 11 times on my Instagram. So clearly it was not a priority. And then I recognized that I had really good information to share. And one of the ways I can share it is through social media. So I created like a 90-day, like my best tips, tricks, like conversation starters. And I had that on repeat for like at least a full year in 2017. And it's funny because people are like, what do you mean you repeated stuff? Like, what are you even talking about? I'm like, people, how fast social media goes. Like, I don't even remember what I posted last week, let alone Drea posted, Susie Q, Johnny Appleseed. I have no idea what everybody's posting every single week. There's way too many things that I'm focused on for me to have that even memory. And we also know this notion of like, people need to see things multiple times in order to like take action or to have it sink in. So, that was really my goal in 2017, was just like, I want to show up, but I also don't want to spend extra time to like think of what is my best content, because I think in batches. So if I have to like off the whim post something, it's just not going to come out right. I'm much more of a intentional, let me light a candle, like create a sanctuary and like create content in like my best space, rather than like hurrying. I'm in the grocery store line and I need to like post something because I feel like I need to. I don't really like to post out of that desperation or that I have to kind of feeling. I want to show up in the best way, and this is how I know how. And then I hired in 2018, I guess, 2019. Oh my gosh, the years. I don't think it was 2019 at this point, but a content manager was my first hire. And so I do value social media and how we show up and how we can share our best content. And so she was our first hire, along with a graphic designer and a video editor. And, I think that also then allows me to share my best content. They take it and make it great. And I'm able to, again, be able to have those conversations and whatnot, and not focus so much on what I'm posting, but having more of the conversation. So I don't know if I feel like I miss out as much, because I feel like I'm actually more in tune with what's going on, because I don't have the anxiety of what needs to be posted, when, how, why. I'm really just focused on going in and chatting with people, honestly.
Ooh, I love that mindset shift of, you're not really feeling like you're missing out on things because you're being intentional about going in and networking and that sort of thing. My little like tech nerdy side wants to know, do you like put this in a project management tool to check off, or like, how do you make sure you do it every day?
Yeah, I think I naturally do it. I love to chat with people. So, especially with the pandemic, right? It's like, I don't see a ton of people day to day. And so naturally I'm like, I want to go chat with somebody. And my first thought is to go into my Instagram DMs, or to see if anybody's commented on a thread, or going to a friend's thread that was really great that she shared on her stories, and, starting conversations there. I think it just naturally for me, because I'm a relationship person, is like, of course I want to go on Instagram every day. So I don't necessarily have like go on Instagram every day, and whatnot, but it's just something that I think is ingrained in me just as a natural relationship builder.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that it's
Yeah.
just a natural part of your day, which is
Yeah.
great. Okay. So I want to get specific about how you do this, especially very curious about how you coordinate with your content manager. And
Yeah.
I feel like using your recent campaigns around VIP days, you just did a big, correct me if I'm wrong, you just did a big campaign around this, right?
Yep. It was a conference, like a 2-day virtual conference. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So tell us a bit about like, what is a VIP day, just to give us some context.
Totally. Yeah. So what I consider a virtual VIP day is a 4-figure offering that lasts about 3 to 8 hours long, which helps your client through a 3 to 5 phase transformation process, framework, etc. And I like to use numbers because it's concrete. You can understand it. So that 4 figures is that over $1,000 mark. This is not a strategy session or a, pick my brain session. This is a most likely a strategy or implementation type offering. And then the actual length of it is 3 to 8 hours within a 24-hour period of time. So again, it's a VIP day, not a VIP week, not a VIP month. It is a day within 24 hours. And then it has the 3 to 5 phase transformation that you take your clients through. And that again is determined on what you do, obviously, but it again eliminates the strategy sessions, the power hours, those sorts of things, which is a great offer, but that's just not what VIP days are.
Okay. So this conference was talking all about the VIP days.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. 26 speakers. It was so fun. I loved it. A lot of relationship building, which is my favorite.
Yay. Okay. So when it came to promoting the conference, talk about what are some of like the big picture things you and your content manager decided on with marketing and then specifically social media marketing?
Totally. So for us, we really hone in on Instagram. That doesn't mean that we ignore everything else. We will put some things on Facebook a little bit, but we just have found through data, through research, that our people are on Instagram. And the tricky thing with VIP days is people are not searching for them. So we had found with like YouTube or Pinterest that we're not going to get that much traction for VIP days because no one's really looking for that. It's super low volume. So we stick to Instagram, and we really focus on IGTVs really heavily. We also focus on stories and posts and like carousels, stuff like that. Sometimes I'll go live, but again, for us and for me, I do best when I can pre-plan. And I feel like I show up best when I can plan versus going live. So for our conference, we really looked at, okay, we had about a 3-week promo period. And so Alice is my content manager. Alice looked at, okay, we have 3 weeks of content to fill. And so, how are we going to move all of the pieces around? How can we repurpose different things? And again, our podcast, which is System Saved Me, we had intentional episodes during those 3 weeks of promo as well. And so we were able to, again, take from those episodes, repurpose different quotes and things for the various weeks. And we were planning to do reels and whatnot, but the week that I was going to be recording them, the snowpocalypse happened in Dallas, which was really fun. So that really threw a lot of things off the radar there. So we weren't able to get to that. And we had to, at that point, just say, like, we've got to focus on what we've got. And we did well with it. And so we have kind of the content pillars of podcasts and IGTVs. We do 2 podcasts a week and 1 video a week. And so between those 3 pieces of content, we really start to then dissect into the other days what we want to share. And we also ran ads, and our ads actually are majority Instagram stories, which is also interesting because that's just where our people are. And the data has proven that time and time again. And so we just really are like, okay, let's, I guess, put all our eggs in one basket at this point, and really like leverage the audience that we've built here. And so again, we don't have all of the final numbers, but I think after email list, Instagram was our second highest place that people bought a ticket from. So from Instagram bio links, story swipe ups, all of that stuff, like they came from Instagram. And so again, we're proven like this is where people are and that this is where they connect with us. And so we go all in there. And we really look to change things up. Our Instagram story ads were really they were very different. We tested a bunch of them, but the 2 that worked well, one was very, it included Post-its and markers and the calendar and like my vibe, and was very like, I just filmed it on my iPhone one day. And then the second one was very graphic. So it actually did not include any photos of me or images of me. And it was a lot more punchy and dynamic, and it had like cool choppy music to it. And again, we were kind of testing, like, does Jordan's face need to be involved? Does it not need to be involved? And technically the one without my face did better, which I don't take offense to. It is what it is. But that usually happens. Like every time everyone's like, put your face more. I'm like, no, like the data shows, and not that like my face is bad. It's fine. It's not a complex. It's just data. Right. And so, but we always like to test things. So those were the 2 ads that did the best, for us. And so we ran those, for about 2 weeks straight. And what was it? We had like $16 leads on $29 tickets. So we did really well from a cost per lead perspective, but that's going down the ad rabbit hole. But it's interesting that, again, like 80% of our marketing is done via Instagram, even on the paid side.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I have so many like tangents I want to go down with this because there was a lot here that's so good. I want to start with IGTV. So you mentioned you record these. Do you record them in batches?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually hire a videographer to come in, and I record them all at the same time. And she sends us just like the video footage. And then we have a video editor on our team that cuts and slices and dices. And we actually do 2 cameras, which we really like because it adds a dynamicness and changes it up from just like somebody doing a video, like straight to camera.
Okay. So since you're recording in a batch, how do you decide topics, and do you write scripts or outlines? Give me like the details.
Yeah, totally. So I have like the big white Post-it notes, and it's basically 1 video per page. And so I generally know at this point, having done these types of videos for like over a year, I know my intro and I know my outro. So I don't necessarily have to put that anywhere, but I will just put in bullets. So like, for example, there'll be like the 3 types of VIP days or whatever. And then I'll just put back end, bookend, and blended. Because those are our 3 types. And I'll usually put like a few points underneath the points that just I really want to hit for overcoming objections and stuff like that. But it's really a bullet point and Post-it system. But I do write all those out before I actually go and shoot the videos. I usually just do it the night before. And Alice and I, fun fact, this is from our last conference. This is our chat transcript. Okay. So we go through this and get all of the content that we need for the next batch of videos. But we also,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Like,
so for those of you listening, I'm just going to jump in and say, go to the YouTube video because you got to see how big this book is. It's insane. So that's youtube.com/OnlineDrea. You'll find the video because this isn't just like a few pages. How many pages is that?
259.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also download our Q&A. So in Zoom, there's like the chat, and then there's like the Q&A portion. And that's where we host our conferences. And so I literally pull the entire chat off, and then I also pull all of the questions. And so this is about 30 pages, I think. And so we don't really need to spend a ton of time figuring out what we're supposed to talk about or do. Really, we get everything from our conferences. So our conferences are multi-purposeful as well. It's getting to know us, people join our program, but it also then becomes the hub of our next video content batch. And so mixed in with Alice talking about talk about a time that you failed at something, Jordan, and all like video or audio message different things to her for our actual posts on our page. But for our IGTVs, it's coming from the conference mostly.
Yeah. Wow. I am very impressed by just the sheer size of that book. And I'm probably going to drive my team crazy, but I'm about to be like, how can we save these? Because I love that. Okay. Yeah. So you record them in batches, you have your outlines. How many do you record within one batch?
Yeah, it's usually about 24. We try to get about 6 months of videos done.
Wow. Okay. That's impressive.
Thank you. I mean, they're short. We keep ours 4 to 8 minutes is like our sweet spot. My people like short and snappy, which is great because I like to do short and snappy videos. And it's funny, we've tested, I used to film them with my kitchen in the background and very on my iPhone sort of situation. And they did well. But it's interesting to see now that the more polished videos with a more branded background, if you go to our Instagram, you can see them. Those have performed double the amount. and so of views. So it's been interesting too to see, because we did our first batch and I was like, we're testing this. If it doesn't work, we're going back to the kitchen. But immediately we saw like a jump for sure. But I think too, with the idea of VIP days, we did have to somewhat up level the look of our content, because there was an expectation a little bit of, I'm talking about VIP days, but like, I'm just like, yo. And people were like, there was a little bit of a mismatch. And so, again, we test everything. Like we are constantly looking at what works, what doesn't, how can we improve? Because there's always new fun things like Reels and different things coming out. And so we'll definitely be testing Reels. We actually have a Reels batch happening next month. And so that'll be fun too. And so we'll batch a bunch of Reels together as well. And those will get dripped out similarly to IGTVs.
Okay. Wow. I love how tight your process is, and it's backed by data. And so I do want to touch on the data eventually, but I'm so curious about this content, because you mentioned in there that you send a voice note for ideas. So talk to us about that collaboration with your team as well.
Totally. So Alice and I kind of just like made this up because it's how I operate. I'm not great at like writing out responses. So we were having issues with like me delaying the process because I wouldn't write the caption. And Alice would like, will you just write something? And I'm like, and so we started to then, again, we kind of think of things in quarters. Our videos are about 6 months out, but we think of every other piece of content we have in quarters. And so Alice will send me a list of questions. I mean, I'm talking, I don't even know how many questions there are, like at least 30 to 40 questions that are more on the like personal side, like VIP day content. We go into the transcripts. We find all of that. So she doesn't need to interview me about that as much. And so these are more questions like, again, like, when did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Or like, what's your morning routine? Or like those sorts of questions. She'll kind of come up with a list of those, and I will just sit there and I will open up my voice memo on my phone, and I will start talking, and I'll answer the questions. I'll say question 1, so the question, and then I'll respond. And what that does is then she takes that audio, transcribes it. And so she's able to see when I answer each question, right? Because I say question 1, question 2, question 3. And so she takes those transcriptions and she creates captions out of those. And so she's able to take my words, tighten them up, or add emojis or stuff like that. So it really is me talking, but she is able to adjust it to more of a social caption voice, which we found to be like the best way to still keep it my voice, but without me having to. So we're at this point, like, I don't even like look at my captions before they come out. Like, so a lot of the posts I don't even look at before they come out, because it's just, we've got it to such a tight process that it's like, go be great. I know generally what she's going to be posting because I've literally answered all 30 of the questions, but I don't know when they're going to post. I don't know like what piece of what I said she's going to take. But that's been super helpful, because I think that's the biggest hang up with people when they're talking about social media peeps, having their voice. And this is what's really worked for us, because I'm a talker. I'm not a writer, funny enough, because I have a journalism degree, but I digress. I really talk things out better. And so that's really our process. Is every quarter she sends me the questions, I talk them out, she transcribes, and then she starts to post and put things together, and works with our graphic designer to create charts or graphs or carousel posts, or maybe she just grabs a picture off our Dropbox. And she is fully in charge of that.
Yes, I love this whole process, because I do find that it's very similar to how we run our agency, for instance, in the sense that we pull from like our clients' podcast interviews and things like that. Totally. So if you were an agency client, for instance, we do this episode and make like half a dozen posts from it. But I love that you've got that system in place for like pulling the transcripts, getting specific questions. That's beautiful. And then working in batches as well. I do think that's the biggest question, especially personality brands have is how do I get support with social media and have it sound like me and look like me without me actually having to work through all of that content, which is beautiful.
Yeah, totally.
So you've talked about data, and I love geeking out about this as well. So how do you record your success and how often do you look at your reports?
Totally. So Alice pulls all of our data between our podcast and our Instagram. And so Instagram, we do weekly. Podcast, we kind of have a process around like, we look at it a week out and then a month out of each episode. So that one's kind of a little different, just because we want to see the trend of the downloads. But for Instagram, we use Later for our, I guess, scheduling and all that stuff. And so she'll go in there, review, and look at, again, did we see, how many followers we had, those sorts of like metrics that don't really matter, but we still track them. But then we also look at, okay, for the past week, like what were our most popular, posts? And then also like, did one of our posts jump? Because you can look at, I don't know if it's all time, but I think it's like a year maybe is the max. So we know like what our most popular posts are for the past year. And so if there's a post last week that jumped, to one of our top posts, then we track that and just like, oh, like they really want this content or whatever the case is. And so, so she does that on a weekly basis and whatnot. But we also, about every quarter, we'll go back and look at all of the IGTVs because those are only weekly. So it's just one IGTV a week. So we go back and look and see if there were, again, any that popped out and had a lot more views than, again, that entire quarter or even for the year. So we're keeping pretty close tabs because, again, we want to see views, but we also look at comments. And if there are tons of comments on one, or we see shares for our posts and stuff like that, we do look at, okay, this was a heavy saves or a heavy shares. Like, let's think about why that was. How can we add that into more of our content? So we are very, very heavy on the data because, I think that a lot of business owners make decisions based off emotion. And while that can feel like the best case scenario at the time, so does the ice cream when you're feeling sad, but you shouldn't eat. So
I feel personally attacked.
Like, y'all, I got so much ice cream in that freezer right there. So don't even get it twisted. But I think I have to continually remind myself because all of a sudden I'll just be like, you know what, we should just stop doing this and we should just do this other thing. And they're like, my team's like, what? I have like 7 team members now all of a sudden. I like feel like I woke up and all of a sudden have a team. But it's like, oh, like that was out of my frustration in the moment. Let me take a step back. Let's look at the numbers. What do the numbers say? And make a decision off of that, because that's really what, companies do, like outside of our little sphere, like big companies, they are not making decisions off of how you feel today. They're making decisions off of, is this working? Is this converting? Is it not? Let's make a decision based off of that. And so, if we're wanting to have companies that, again, grow and continually do better and innovate, then we have to look at the data. And sometimes it can be scary or you feel like it's wrong. Again, I could take full offense that content with my face on it doesn't do as well. But I don't. I'm just like, great, less pictures for me. Awesome. Like more charts. Great. So I think that we put so much meaning on a variety of things. And especially when it comes to data, just let it tell you what's best and don't make it mean something that it's not.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I love that you track this and you've got such a handle on what's working, because you're right in a sense that when people feel like social media isn't working, it's typically because of the feeling and not necessarily any sort of traction in the business. So I love that. What tool are you using to keep track of this? Is it as simple as just a spreadsheet or do you use something else?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for data, we do just use Google Sheets and whatnot. We may have some fancy formulas here and there, but We found we could put it in Airtable, we could put it in other things, and we've tried, but it just makes sense for data to be put in sheets for us.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Love it. Love it. Okay, so as we wrap up, I know that you've got this amazing VIP day offer, but for people who are listening, a lot of our listeners are business owners who are either just starting out or they're marketers who are doing this for their businesses. How can they get into your world? Where should they start?
Yeah, totally. So if you couldn't tell, I'm all about the Instagram. Instagram jam. And we have tons of great IGTVs. If you're intrigued by VIP days, but you're like, what, I need to know more of what they are or what they could look like or things like that, then definitely checking out our Instagram at Systems Saved Me. It's plural systems saved me. And also, again, our podcast, Systems Saved Me. Not a shocker either. You can go there and check out different episodes. And if you want to go and like actually dive in, you can go to our two things that are free quiz, which is which type of VIP day should you create? And that is systemsaving.com/quiz. Or if you are more of a reader, then our roadmap would be a great place to start. So you can go there at systemsaving.com/roadmap. And that will show you kind of the 9 steps to take in order to have a great, successful VIP day. So we have lots of options, whether you want to listen, watch, or read, or be interactive with a quiz. We've got you covered.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to put all those links in the show notes. Y'all definitely go check that out. OnlineDrea.com/147. You'll find everything that we talked about here today. Thank you so much, Jordan, for being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you. And next week, I'm talking all about being a business owner and not a content creator. I do feel like there's a distinction, and I want to talk about it because there's a time and a place for all of these things. So join me next week for that episode. And if you love the show, please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Your support really helps us. And we have been solidly in the top 100 marketing podcasts for the past 12 months, and I want to stay there. And to stay there, we need your support. So please head on over, click the review, give us your thoughts, help other people learn about this show. We appreciate you. With that, I'll see you next week. Bye for now.